Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Today, I am joined by Chad and Timo. I know I'm going to ruin that the whole time I say it, so I'm so sorry. Chad is the writer-director of Mr. Sandman. Timo is the producer. How you guys doing today?
Doing pretty good, my friend.
Really good. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I am so excited to have you guys. I want to talk a little bit about your guys' past before we start talking about the present and the future. Chad, you actually cut your teeth in commercials, animated, and a little bit of feature film, television, a little bit of everything from Blade 2 to the Honey, We Shrunk the Kids TV series, correct? Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV series.
Mm-hmm. That's
so
right.
You've had a lot going on for you. And then, Timo, you've been in the business for 20 plus years, worked on everything from web series to feature film and everything in the middle. We finally got you guys coming together for Mr. Sandman. Is this the first time you guys have worked together as a team?
Oh, no. It's been a long, great relationship.
So,
Timo and I met at a little cafe or something when I needed a producer to help me on a project, and we've been working together ever since. So, 10 years? No? More?
Yeah, about 10 or 11 years, I think, right now.
That is so awesome, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations, guys. And Mr. Sandman, I'm so excited about it. It's just from the conversations that we've had, and we actually got some pretty cool news. Who would like to talk about that?
I'll let Timo do the honors if that works for you.
Yeah, why not? Well, yeah, I guess a couple of pieces of news. So I'll say first, we sold the foreign sales rights to the movie to Raymond Banner Entertainment, which is an amazing feat for a very small indie film to do that before it's actually shot. So that was very cool. More recently, though, and this is really exciting, we got Lyndon Porco, who is the leprechaun in the movie Leprechaun Returns. He's going to be playing one of the incarnations of Mr. Sandman. So we have a very nefarious bad guy that we won't spill the beans on it too much, but Lyndon, an amazing actor, a very cool guy as well. He's going to be on board to bring out some creepiness.
He sort of legitimizes us, I think. He's the veteran with the monster, playing the monster. So
that's so incredible, man.
Teach us.
I'm so happy for you guys because, like you said, that really legitimizes things. And like you said, selling before you've even gone into production, really, before you start. You haven't started shooting yet, have you? When do you guys start shooting?
I think we're aiming for the spring, but it all really depends with COVID. Obviously, everything's sort of up in the air. But we've been working on Sandman in other forms for quite some time because we've got a short film series called Nightmares Manifest that is basically prequel stories to the feature. And we shot 2 of those, the bookended beginning and last episode of the 5. So yeah, we feel like we've been sort of living in production on Sandman for a while, even though we haven't hit the actual feature part yet.
Right. Something else I want to add real quick. Chad, your first feature film, The Coming, that's available on YouTube, and it's hit over 2 million views now, correct?
I think it's over 3, actually, which is insane.
Well, if you guys want to become part of that 3 million, click the link down here in the description and check that out. I got that link down here. Dude, that's so cool. And I can't stress enough how exciting this is for me to be able to break this casting news on Sledgehammer Horror. This is such an honor for me, guys. I'm so excited about the film. Timo, the conversations that me and you have had through email and text, and it's so exciting to watch this, come into fruition. And any way that I can help you guys, I'm more than happy to help. This is so cool, and I'm so excited to see this. You guys have worked with Crypt TV a little bit too. Is that true?
That is true, yeah. We went to the American Film Market a couple of years ago, started selling the film, and one of the filmmakers we met there mentioned Crypt TV, which we didn't know enough about, but they're doing a lot of great stuff with horror filmmakers, right? They got like 5 million subscribers or something. So we submitted the first Nightmares Manifest short film about Mr. Sandman, sort of the beginnings of Mr. Sandman, to them, and they liked it, and they picked it up along with the second one a year later. So yeah, we've got two short films up on Crypt TV on their YouTube and Facebook watch channels, and I think it's crazy. I think we've got like almost 700,000 views on those. So that's awesome to see the user feedback, seeing what people think of it, the good and the bad. It helps, all of it helps. And the sort of the, what do you call these videos where people watch the film, the reaction videos? Yeah, so those have been insane to watch.
It's got to be a sense of pride, that people are taking these and making reaction videos out of them, making review videos out of them. Even like you said, even if you're getting a bad reaction or a bad review, it's showing you where to go in the future, something you can work on. Nothing's perfect. So to come out and say this is something that could be fixed, as any type of person that does any type of editing, podcasting, filming, you always need that. You don't want everybody saying this is great, this is great, this is great, because for one, it's not true. And for two, there's always room for improvement. You can always improve on something. So as long as it's I don't want to say positive, but constructive criticism, I'm always open to it. Any way that I can be better, I want to be better. I want to be the best that I can possibly be. So if you got constructive criticism, lay it on me. I feel the same way you guys do. I need that constructive criticism. That's how we grow as human beings. We need to know when we're not doing something right so we can make it right. So Mr. Sandman is something, however, that I feel will be pretty legit on the first go round. So I also have the Indiegogo campaign down here in the description, guys. You get all the stuff here. You got the t-shirts, you got the tarot cards. It's going to be a whole deal, man. So make sure you're checking that out as well. Not only are you helping to support indie film, which is always good. We all need the help right now, especially with COVID, but you're also getting cool perks to do it. So you're getting rewarded for helping other people. It's like Christmas through Indiegogo. So anything else you guys can tell us about Mr. Sandman before we get into the first horror movie you guys watched?
Oh, geez. We've got some content to check out for Mr. Sandman in addition to the shorts. So we've got the song. We wrote a song for the film, Mr. Sandman's Lullaby, which is on my YouTube channel. And we've also got a teaser, so sort of like a real teaser with just sort of the names of the characters on a sign and this creepy old book opening up. So people can check those out too if they want to pop by my YouTube channel.
I will have the links to those in the description as well. That way it'll make it way easier. So if you guys want to check it out, I sound like a broken record. You know where the links are. They're in the description. So when we're done with this, fellas, if you wouldn't mind, please email me all, because I've got the memory of an 80-year-old stoner, man. So I'm probably not going to remember to put all of them, but I don't want to insult you. I want to make sure I got all the goods here. So when we're done, please text or email me all these links so I have them down here in the description for everybody to check out. You guys deserve the world. I want to try to give it to you. So whatever I can do, please email it to me. It'll be down here. You guys don't have to look at the email. You just got to look down here in the description, remember? Timo, anything you want to add?
Oh, anything about Mr. Sandman? Let's see here. So yeah, of course we got the Mr. Sandman campaign going on right now. Got merch on our merch store, but what can I say? Let's say that we're looking at a spring shoot. So we are actually prepping towards that right now. So because we got the funds from Raven Banner sort of sitting on the back end, looking at just getting tax credits. I'm sort of thinking about this as a producer. I'm working on tax credits and getting all that, so we're ready to shoot, so we can get the best possible film made for Chad and the crew to shoot. So
are you guys filming north of the border? Are you guys filming in Canada?
Yes, we are. Yeah, we got I guess that's another thing. I mean, we got super cool summer camps that we're going to be shooting at, and they're helping out, supporting us and giving us some breaks. So that's always, small business helping artists. That's awesome. So we want to help them as well and go shoot there. So I think, the woods out here are very creepy. It's going to be insane to go in there and do some shooting.
From a producer point of view, even though I'm not the producer, because of COVID, our film is uniquely positioned, I think, to still be a movie that can get made because it's in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere, at a summer camp where we can keep everyone spaced out and isolated in a way from civilization. So,
yeah,
that's so rad, man. That again, now you guys said you're going to be filming in the spring, summer, so obviously hoping for the snow to be gone. So is it more of a summer camp type of movie? I don't want to go too spoilery here because I want to be surprised too, but it's more of a summer camp type movie then. So it is more outside, summer camp, monster type, super amazing.
Yeah, it's meant to be the sort of the fall because it actually takes place like around Halloween.
Okay.
So we're hoping to get like, I mean, it'll still be soggy and stuff. But the nice thing about Vancouver is like that's why X-Files and all those TV series have been so, have such longevity shooting in BC because you sort of have the kind of gloomy, soft light rain for a huge chunk of the year. So I think whether we shot in October or in April, it really probably aesthetically won't look that different as long as, like you said, we don't have a lot of snow. Hoping not for that. So
yeah, hopefully 2021 treats us a little better than 2020 did.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, no kidding.
So like I said, guys, this is the last time I'm going to say it, I promise, but the links are all down here in the description. Make sure you're helping support indie film. Check out some of the work these guys have already done. I promise you it will heighten your excitement for Mr. Sandman. So now I want to talk to you guys about the first horror movie that you've ever watched, which I'm so lucky because I got two amazing guys that watched an amazing same horror movie. So this is going to be a little bit easier for me. So if you guys couldn't tell already, the first horror movie that you guys watched was
Nightmare on Elm Street.
I wonder if we watched different ones though. Which one was your first one?
Oh, of the Nightmare on Elm Street films?
Yeah.
Oh, it was the first one for sure.
Okay, mine was the third.
Oh, really? Oh, you watched them in
all right.
Nice.
It's funny because I've talked about, it's weird. I got three totally different opinions here. I think that my favorite one is part 4. And I think because growing up, that's the one that I watched the most. So I always kind of gravitate towards that one. When it comes to the cast, I think part 3 is the best one. I think that the kids that they have in that are absolutely phenomenal. But I think the original Nightmare on Elm Street, if you take out the last 3.5 minutes of that movie, it's the perfect horror movie. The ending is the only thing keeping it from a 5-star review for me. It has for the budget that they had and what they did with the first Nightmare on Elm Street, it's about as perfect as you can be. So it's anytime I get to talk about these movies is super cool to me. So Timo, we are doing Nightmare 1. Chad, we are doing Nightmare 3. So I'll bounce the questions off each one of you that I usually ask. I'll start with you first, Timo.
Yep.
How old were you the first time that you seen Nightmare on Elm Street?
I don't know the exact age, but I do remember that night I was at my friend's watching it. I had my BMX with me. So I would say I was about, 12, 13 in that age range because I remember I grew up in the prairies and it was just a very dark night with like nobody around because everybody goes to bed early around there. So watched the movie. I was scared out of my mind. And I had to jump on my BMX and do a long ride home down desolate roads. And I'm just like, I was freaking out there on my own. So every lamppost I came to, I was like, thank you for the light.
I can't imagine how many noises you heard that weren't really there on that bike ride home.
Oh, yeah.
So, Chad, we're talking about Nightmare 3, The Dream Warriors. Which scene from that affected you the most?
Oh, geez. To be honest, like I haven't seen the movie in quite some time, but it still sticks with me because of like it was my first experience really with a horror film. I had parents that were, wouldn't let me see anything that was violent or whatever. And if I could do a little mini story, I was at my friend's place for a birthday party, and they're like, "We're gonna watch horror films," and I was like, "Oh, I don't even know what that is really." And so I just remember like this movie starting, and we'd watch a bunch. But I was still going, and it was just there was probably 3 or 4 other kids around us in their sleeping bags that were out, and just me alone with Freddy Krueger. And then looking over, and one of my friends I noticed was still awake, but he was not like a close friend. He was a bit of a weird kid. And I just remember the blue light in his face, and he just looked at me, and I was like looking at him, and I'm like, and I want to go home. So yeah, I just remember being kind of like, wow, this is why my parents stopped me from watching these things. But I don't know. I'd have to see it again to really remember a specific scene that I really hit me. I think it was just more I remember the arms breaking back. That's the correct one, right? Where she's doing the weights and her arms.
No, that's 4.
That's number 4? Oh shoot,
Yeah.
I'm mixing them up now. So I'm pretty sure it was okay. Maybe it was 4 was the very first one. Now I'm ashamed as a filmmaker to not get that answer.
You're trying to remember something from when you were 7 years old, man.
It's so long ago.
And I didn't give you guys much time to prepare. I want to let everybody know. Usually we plan these a couple weeks in advance, but these guys, me and Timo were conversing, not conversating. That's not a word. We were conversing, and he told me he had some casting news, and I said, well, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's put it out there, and we'll do it now. So we didn't really have much time for these guys to plan out their answers. So I'm really kind of throwing these at them. This isn't a softball toss. I'm going 100 miles an hour out of the pen right now, right at them. So,
yeah.
Timo, let's go back with you. Let's jump back over. When you think of A Nightmare on Elm Street, what is the first thought that pops into your head?
A Nightmare on Elm Street. The furnace.
The furnace?
Yeah. It's like, I was just like, what's the first thing that pops in mind when you ask that question? Yeah, it's the furnace. Like, that was something that was like burned into me. And yeah, basements as well is just, yeah, was not part of my childhood, a fun part of my childhood. So yeah, just that whole part of it, I think it was a very cool concept in the films. So.
Well, and what's really cool about that, and what I love about horror films, is you could talk to 100 different people and get 100 different answers on that question that I just asked you. And your takeaway from this monster with knives for fingers that's killing you in your dreams is the furnace, because that's real. That's something that we all had in our houses. That's something, the basement, the cellar. And it's funny how a horror movie can hit you on so many different levels and affect you in so many different ways. That's the one thing that really stuck with you is, oh, fuck, I got that in my basement. Why would I want to be a part of this? So
Yeah.
I love that. I love that's why I love doing this, because honestly, the 2 movies I've done the most are Poltergeist and Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Those are the 2 that have been done the most. And not one of my episodes are even remotely the same, because that's what horror is. It's about how we interpret it and no 2 people are alike. So that's why I love doing this. It's such a passion of mine, because I love horror movies. I love getting into the minds of people that make horror movies like yourselves and seeing where it started and how it affected you. So Chad, let's go back and try to remember, what kill do you think is your favorite in Nightmare 3?
Oh my God.
Quick story I can tell you. The band Coheed and Cambria, the drummer Josh is a good friend of mine. He did an episode with me, and he was talking about how he wants to get in his house a replica of her head hanging out of the TV with Freddy's head up on top of it, just hanging on the wall. And I was like, dude, that's so brilliant, because to me, that's my favorite Freddy one-liner. I used to say it all the time. I'd be playing video games and I'd like beat the end boss and I'd be like, welcome to primetime, bitch. Like that was, so like to me, like A Nightmare 3 has the best one-liners, and the, Patricia Arquette, that cast is so great. So, I mean, there's so many deaths in Nightmare 3 to choose from. You got the puppet death, you got the TV, the heroin needles in the arms. Which one do you think really got to you the most?
I think the heroin actually really disturbed me, especially because being sort of like a naive, like, just quiet kid, I was pretty shy. And it's like, I think probably was the first time I'd even seen something like that. So that was kind of traumatic, but powerful. It sticks with you. And that, one of the things I love about the Nightmare movies, even though I have to admit, honestly, that, that was the first horror movie I'd ever seen. But for me, and I think to tie it into Sandman a little bit real quick, is like, is I think the uncertainty about knowing what was real. I had never had kind of experienced or thought about that at that age. And that really stuck with me. And like, a lot of my movies come from dreams. And sometimes you're even sort of foggy when you wake up and you're like, wait, was that a dream I had, or did I remember that? So for me, a big part of like writing Sandman, and a lot of my stories actually are kind of even Becoming that you mentioned earlier, thank you, is kind of connected to dream imagery. So I think for me, it's more the psychological feeling of not knowing whether this thing you're experiencing is real and how to react to that, rather than the raw gore of it. And that's what attracts me, I think, more to horror movies and spooky stories. But yeah, just straight up as in like disturbingly, I would say that one.
Well, and another thing about that scene when you watch it as an adult, me personally, I've battled addiction. I think that everybody in some way, shape, or form has battled some type of addiction that we've overcome. And to watch her, this beautiful young lady that has battled this addiction and she's beaten this addiction. And then Freddie comes and he has the needles. If you watch that scene, like, it's so hard as someone that's battled an addiction. I've never been that deep, but you know, she just gives up and almost gives herself to it because she knows, you know, and that's one thing about Freddie, I think, that's scarier than some of the other guys. Like with Michael Myers, I've always thought he was scarier because he's realistic. With Jason, I always thought he was scarier because the brutality of his kills. But with Freddie, where I think he's the scariest, is he knows what scares you. He's in your dream, so he could take the shape, the form of even like heroin. He knows what your fear is, and he uses that against you. And that's something we're all afraid of. You know, you having our own fears used against us. That's a terrifying thought. And that's where Wes Craven really hit the nail on the head with Freddy Krueger, his ability to take your fear and use it against you. So, Timo, I want to bounce back to you real quick. Nightmare on Elm Street 1. What is your favorite scene from that movie?
I think one is the no running in the hallway, which I'm having a hard time a little bit remembering all of it, but that definitely is one that sticks with me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now next question is for both of you. I got about 3 more questions for you, but this one is for both of you. Have you seen the Nightmare on Elm Street remake? And if so, your opinions on the remake? Chad, I'll go with you first.
I didn't see it, but I have to admit I was pretty curious. I forget the name of the lead actor, but he was from The Watchmen. Am I right?
Yeah. Now it's slipping me. He's got the southern drawl.
Yeah, he's fantastic, and I was interested in seeing it to see someone else portray the role because it's been
Jackie Earl Haley.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, was he in it?
So it's pretty crazy to, I think, like take on a character that someone else has owned for, you know, years and years and years, and see that. So yeah, I haven't seen it, but I would be curious to see how that's handled, mostly from the portrayal of Freddy Krueger and how he handled that.
Yeah,
Timo,
I've passed on it. I'm having personally, I have a lot of trouble with the remakes. I like the originals from the 80s. Same thing with Friday the 13th, or any of the Texas Chainsaw remakes. I just love it old school. My kids are coming to the age where they love horror films. I'm just rewatching the old ones with them rather than watching the new ones. So
nice, raising them properly.
Yes.
See,
yes.
and I guess with me, I'm one of the people that I don't think remakes are inherently bad. I think that there's plenty of really good ones. I actually really enjoy the Friday the 13th remake. I thought it was brilliant. And then the new Child's Play they just did, I was a really big fan of that. The Nightmare on Elm Street one, however, I was not a fan, and it didn't have to do really with Jackie Earl Haley because he did a great job, but there's only so much you can do if the script isn't there. The characters were there, but they tried to redo the first one, but spin it a little bit. Like in this one, Freddy wasn't a child killer. He was a child molester. And they took some of the iconic scenes. One of my favorite practical effects of all time is in Nightmare on Elm Street when they push on the latex above the bed and the head and the face are coming out and then it goes back. And like they did that in this one, but they did it with all CGI. So it was like moving around and it didn't look good. So if you're going to take a movie like Nightmare on Elm Street, which is the perfect practical effect movie, and add CGI to it, you got to make it your own. You can't just redo the scenes in CGI and hope that it works. And another problem I had, again, Jackie Earl Haley didn't do a bad job, but with the big three, Michael, Jason, Freddy, you had X amount of guys play Jason. It doesn't matter. He's in a mask. You've had X amount of guys play Michael. It doesn't matter. He's in a mask. But Freddy was always Robert Englund. So no matter how good of a job anybody does with that, it's always been the same guy. So it's really hard to recast. And a guy that owned the role and made a life out of the role. So that's one that was probably the hardest part for me, was trying to rewatch. So no matter how good he did, he did a good job, but he just wasn't Robert Englund. It was different. So I just wasn't a fan of that. So
That is very
got
true,
two
yeah.
more questions for you guys. I want to
Yep.
bounce off of Nightmare on Elm Street real quick, and I want to go scream on you here for a second. What's your
Ooh.
favorite scary movie? What is your favorite horror movie? Timo, I'll start with you.
My favorite horror movie. I'm gonna go back way back, and it's sort of Poltergeist is one that's up there. Like it's always up there because I can watch it over and over again. But I'm gonna say The Fog. So,
Nicely done. That's the first time I've gotten that answer. I like it.
oh really? Okay. I think I was a bit too young to watch it, but it stuck with me. And just the eeriness of it, the way it builds up. I just love the build up of the movie, and uh, just the visuals of it were just like, it just blew me away at that time. I think I was watching like Tarzan stuff pretty much before that. So yeah, definitely I'm gonna go with The Fog on this one. Yeah.
Hey, what about you, Chad? Your favorite horror movie?
Well, Timo and I were actually kind of talking about that not too long ago, and I was like, I don't know if I can count this one because it's sort of sci-fi. I'm gonna say Alien would be my first choice, but straight up horror, I think, is The Conjuring 2. And I think The Conjuring 2 is probably the most when I talk about it with my students, I say it feels like the Back to the Future of horror movies for me, because it's such a perfectly told story. It's so well written. It's so well executed. I just love that movie. So yeah, I've seen The Conjuring 2 many, many times. I love both The Conjurings, but the second one is just like perfect. So yeah.
A couple things I want to add real quick. One, I totally think Alien is a horror movie. I know it's more sci-fi, but to me, that's totally a horror movie. It's a slasher in outer space. You know, that's all. That's what it is. It's an outer space slasher.
Yeah, like the tagline, like in space, no one can hear you scream. Horror film, right off the bat, first teaser.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree. Amazing film. Yeah.
And everybody that knows me knows I'm a big horror guy. Horror is a huge part of my life. But my favorite movie of all time is Back to the Future. So hearing you talk about Back to the Future, you know, like that to me, like, dude, I can't tell you how many times in my life, in normal conversation, for no fucking reason whatsoever, I'll just look at one of my friends and go, "Hey, you, get your damn hands off her." And they're just like, "What the fuck are you doing, dude?" Like, I love that movie.
Awesome.
George McFly is the best character of all time. I'm your density, your destiny. Like, I love that movie, man. I'm so glad you brought that up, because you're right. It's the perfectly told story. Back to the Future, to me, it's sci-fi. It's a romance. It's got everything, man. It's even got some aspects of horror. You know, at a young age, when I first watched it, I was terrified of the scene where Michael J. Fox came in and put the headphones on George McFly and was telling him he's Darth Vader. You know, that scared me when I was a kid. Yes, Planet Falcon. You know, so like, yes, man, that's the perfect movie. If there's one movie I could say in the annals of history would be the perfect movie, please don't ever touch it. Don't ever remake it or make another sequel. It would be Back to the Future. That movie's an absolute masterpiece.
Yeah, people would boycott it for sure. And to anyone who's watching this, that's thinking about going to the Vancouver Film School, it's mandatory viewing. So you have to watch Back to the Future.
Now, see, that's a damn good school. That's a damn good school.
Well, thank you.
So I always end these with the same question. We end it with a skull count. I'm going to talk again. Timo, we're back to Nightmare on Elm Street. Chad, we're back to Nightmare 3. We're ranking these movies on a scale of 0 to 5. 0 skulls being the worst, 5 skulls being the best. Yes, you may use half and quarter skulls. So, Timo, let's go with you. Nightmare on Elm Street 1, 0 to 5 skulls. What's your ranking, my friend?
I would go with a 4.
Fair ranking. I go 4.8, but that ending kills it for me. As a horror movie, there'll be my favorite horror movie is House from 1986.
Oh, no way.
Favorite horror movie. But I think Nightmare on Elm Street is the best horror movie ever made. Just, again, all opinion based, but those are just my opinions. I think Nightmare's the best. House is my favorite because House is just, it's the first one I ever watched, and my grandma rented it for me because she was tired of watching Ghostbusters. So that's how she broke me from Ghostbusters. So, Chad, let's go with you. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, 0 to 5 skulls. What's your ranking, my friend?
it's a little tough because, like I said, I hadn't seen it in a long time. But I think because of the visceral reaction that it got out of me at that age, and some of the images have just sort of lingered. I'm gonna say 4.5 skulls. It deserves. Yeah.
Very good. I know I told you guys I wouldn't do it again, but I'm going to do it again because you know what? It's my show and I can do what I want. I'm sorry. Check the links down here in the description. These guys deserve all the credit in the world. You guys are going to be so stoked when Mr. Sandman's comes into fruition. And you guys, I have a buddy of mine, Bill. Every Monday he does SledgeHammer Horror News, where we do updates about past guests and things that are going on in the world of horror. So anytime you guys have any news to throw at me, please, we will be happy to include it so we can update people on the things that are going on in the world of Mr. Sandman. I, for one, am so excited. This is a project I've been following for a while. We've been conversing for a while, and we finally made time to make this episode happen, and I couldn't have been happier. This has been so amazing for me. Anything you guys would like to add before we get off here?
I'll add one thing, and I'll let Chad think about it. I actually just checked it. I was actually 11 years old when I watched Nightmare on Elm Street, which is interesting because the number 11 shows up in so many things that me and Chad do. And if people go to the crowdfunding page, you're gonna see 11's buried in there. And my company is called Citizen 11 Entertainment, which had nothing to do with this. It's just weird. It's all 11s. So there you have it. Even with Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's perfect. That is so perfect. I was gonna bring up Citizen 11 because that's something that I see everywhere with your production, so it's something that's hilarious, how a number can be so sequential and important in your life and you didn't even realize it.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's all over the coming too. That's a huge part of the movie, so it's weird.
Anything you'd like to add before we go, Chad?
Yes, you actually made me think of it when you said that you like the new Child's Play. My dear friend, brother from another mother, Keith Arbuthnot, is actually, he's the one who performed Chucky for the new Child's Play, and he's playing our Mr. Sandman.
Yes.
No way.
Another surprise little casting nugget there for you.
That's awesome, man. That's another. I didn't know. I knew the Leprechaun one, but I didn't know that. That's intense. That's so cool. Congratulations.
Yeah, if you want to bring him on, I bet you he would love to chat with you. I think we could probably set that up. So
send him my info. I love doing this. I love talking to everybody. This has been such an honor for me. Please send him my email. Now, everybody else, you guys don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, thank you for tuning into this casting news and listening to these gentlemen talk about their first horror movie. Again, I'm a liar, so I'm going to say it again. Links in the description. Check out the hard work these guys do. Keep talking horror, guys. Stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.